Hello. Just checking that you can hear me. Yes? Excellent. All right, good. So we're just about to start. Let's see. I'll give people about 1 more minute to join. I think we have just about everybody. And once again, we have lots to cover, so I don't want to wait too long. So I'll give about 20 more seconds and then we will jump right in. Okay, everyone. Welcome to Grant Writing 201, Session 2. And this time we're going to talk about creating your project goal. But we're going to begin by going back to last week because we want to make sure that we get project summaries from everybody. And we have 4 groups. And what I want to do first is, well, wait, let me just, before I get here. I just couldn't resist that Vernon Town description. It was so close and I just felt like I just had to play around with it. So here's what I did. I can't help myself. So here's what I came up with. This is what it looks like now. Oops, sorry. Let me move you all over a little here, just a second. Go ahead and read this. For some reason, okay. So Vernon is striving to change its identity from host to the Yankee nuclear plant to a welcoming rural town featuring small businesses, agriculture, and a strong sense of community. As a key part of efforts to build community spirit, we are seeking to preserve Vernon's historic Pond Road Chapel as a town landmark and gathering place for all. I don't even know that that's the case, that it's a gathering place for all. Do we have our wonderful Vernon representative here? Deb, are you on? Oh, I guess Deb isn't even with us yet. Well, I'll just have to share this with her later. But what I did is I got rid of the word struggling because I thought that was a real negative. And in sometimes we are trying to paint a picture of a really dark, difficult situation. And so we do want to say something like that. But in this case, we want to start with something more positive and really indicate that, this is a place of hope and change. And I also switched around the sentences. So I started with what it is we're trying to do and that preserving Vernon's historic Pond Road Chapel is a real piece of that. Any questions or comments? Does this make sense to folks? And you see why I did this?
This is Connie. I was in the small group and I think that really is a great job portraying it.
Yeah, you can see how it's a lot of the same words, but it just plays around with it just a little more. So anyway, all right, moving on. Oh, let's go back. I'm sorry, let's go back so we can get our other two project ideas. So we still have project 3 and 4. And oops, let me go back here and I have to get out of I have to, let's see. I have to get out of this way so that I can write. And I don't know what I did. I'm sorry. I wasn't able to locate my notes, but I know that who was on project 3 and has the information the summary to share. Which one was the project that is the parking area? Somebody? Oops, did I lose you? Oh, there was a parking area and then there was another, there was one making handicap access.
I think Sharon is trying to come off of mute. If you just give her a minute.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Sharon, yeah, we need her to unmute so that we can share that. Or maybe we should start with the other one. So we can start with the other one. So who was in, was it group 4 that it was the handicapped access to a building? And
Yes,
who,
I have it. Yep.
okay, is that Chris?
Yes.
Okay, Chris, what was it that you folks wanted to do? Slowly.
So the elderly and disabled population of Townsend cannot participate in local democracy
Okay, let me move this over a little.
and lend their vast knowledge. I also put it in the chat.
Oh, okay, I could probably, well, that's fine.
And experience to the process simply because they cannot climb stairs. A chairlift will remedy this situation, allowing full access to all community events and activities.
Okay, so can everybody see this? I'm sharing, right? Yeah. All right. I think
No,
it's,
it's not shared. Your screen
oh,
is
it's not sharing. Okay, let me share. All right, do you see it now, everyone? Good. All right, let me move it over here a little. So it's in the middle. Okay, so let's start in. I think this is a very good start. What do we like about this? What's working? Who wants to comment on it? Who's not in this group? You're in the review committee. What does this tell you that gets you interested to read the rest? Connie?
I like that they led off with it being a social issue, that it's a participation in democracy issue. Makes me want to read on.
Okay. And what else works? What else is good? Somebody else can just unmute yourself and speak up if you like.
I like that the verbs are active. It's not passive.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah. Lend their vast knowledge, can't climb stairs. You can picture it, right? Yeah. To me, a real strength of this is that you have an easy solution right here in the first, in the description, a chairlift. Aha, that's great. We know right away exactly what it is you want. And to me, that is a real strength of this. So are there ways that we could make this stronger? Is there anything missing? Is there a more active verb we could use? Anything else? Sharon? And you have to unmute yourself. Maybe I can unmute you. Let's see.
I was just wondering,
Oh,
can you
good.
hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
I was thinking maybe some indication of how many people are in that population group.
that's an interesting idea. So
Just
you
an-
could, yeah, you could say the elderly and disabled population who make up at least 20% of
Some-
Townshend's population, right? And that would really, you'd have to do your homework, which I'm going to teach you how to do. But that's a good idea. Who make up nearly X% or more than, however you want to do it. Of Townshend's. Okay, anything else?
There are a couple words that probably could, to shorten it, could come out, right?
Okay. Like what?
Well, I was thinking vast knowledge. I don't know if that, we need the word vast.
Knowledge and experience. I think that's a good point. I don't think we need that. I agree. Because we already know that if you're old, you probably have vast knowledge. Yeah. And we probably, in that same, we could probably say allowing access to all community events. We probably don't need full, right? That's another, until you mentioned that, I didn't even notice. And you can often do that. Just, you just look really closely and you can, and it makes it sharper. It almost always makes it sharper when you get rid of extra words.
If I could,
Yes,
if I could
Nick?
just make a point, I was some of the people who wrote this, and the reason we put full access is because the way that the town meetings and such are organized is that, at least according to the information I was given, is that those people who can't climb the stairs remain downstairs with a microphone and
Oh,
speakers.
okay. That's a good
So
point. All right,
full
good point.
access
You're going to
was a-
explain. I
was
got
a
it.
key element because
Yeah.
we don't want to get into
Yeah.
Americans with Disabilities Act issues.
Yeah. Okay, I understand. That's good because they do have some access now. I think that's a very good point. And sometimes that word matters. All right, if nobody else has anything, I have one more suggestion. All right, this is a small one, and I'm even trying to figure out how to say it. But I'm really trying hard, and I've been taught by folks, especially in the disability movement, to use person first language. And what that means is rather than saying the elderly and disabled populations, which isn't that bad because it's worse to just say the elderly and disabled or the elderly and homeless, but to make it person first language, I think what we could do is we could say Townshend residents who are elderly and disabled.
Yeah, that was something we struggled with trying to figure out how to put that in.
Yeah, so that's how I would do it. And you see how that's just, it's friendlier. It's called person first language, and it really talks about them as people who happen to have this particular characteristic. So I would just prefer that. And so township residents who are elderly disabled and who make up nearly X% of the town's population.
Do we need to have who twice?
What?
Do we need to use the word?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Twice?
And make up. That's right. We don't need that. Very good. And lend their knowledge. Okay, my only problem still is, I know you were thinking about town meeting at first, but what everybody pointed out is there's more than town meeting that happens there, right? So I think it may be fine because you're saying, allowing full access to all community events and activities, but you might want to say cannot I think you want to say cannot fully participate, because apparently they can kind of participate. And I'd say in other events, in other, yeah. And other town, maybe even town events. And lend their knowledge. Oh, I see. Well, lend their knowledge and experience. I guess one of the if one of the most important things is the town meeting, then we can leave this. I think it's fine. Okay, we're gonna move on. This is good. Very good. All right, next one. Okay, the next one, as I recall, is the parking area.
That's number 3. That I was part of that group.
Okay,
I had some great people helping. We weren't quite finished, so I had to finish up afterwards, but I didn't really change it that much from what the work we did. And I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly who was in my group, our group.
hopefully they'll remember, because I forgot to have you all tell me what group you were in, so I couldn't do it. I can't.
This
put
was
you in
number
there.
3, but
Yeah, but this
you
is
want me
number
to-
3. Okay.
the West River,
Oops, I didn't mean to do that. What happened there? Okay. All right.
the West River Trail serves hundreds.
Just a second, got to get out of bold. Ah. Oh, well, that's okay. The West River Trail serves hundreds.
Of visitors of all ages.
Then what?
Who appreciate
Oh.
its natural, historic, and recreational values year-round while traveling along
The next right onto Connecticut 150 South.
the West River banks, the river banks, sorry, on remnants of the bygone West River Railroad.
Okay.
Reconfiguring the trail access, comma, turnaround, and parking at the South Londonderry Trailhead will improve user capacity and create space for a welcoming display of West River Trail, or WRT, information as well as its rich natural resources.
West River Trail serves hundreds of visitors of all. Okay. Okay. All right. What works here? You certainly put a lot into 2 sentences. That's pretty good.
They're kind of long.
They're kind of long.
Yeah.
What works here? What do we like about it? Let's start
As
with that.
somebody who was in group 1, who had a very long one, I feel like it runs a little long, but there are really good descriptive words.
Yeah, like natural, historic, and recreational. So I think what you've done intentionally there is we don't just appeal to one group, we appeal to everybody. There's something for everybody here, right? And that is very, very positive. What else works about this?
Well, I could say I'm hoping that in the second sentence, what works is that the second sentence serves to help describe what we're looking for.
Mhm. Yeah, it says, here's this
need.
great resource, and here's what we need to do to make it even better. And so that is very good. It's very positive. And I really like welcoming display, that's great. Now, how can we make this a little clearer and cleaner? Because I think we all agree it's just a little long and windy.
Yep.
Anybody have a suggestion?
I just wonder if, and this is, you have to tell me where the point is, natural, historical, and recreational values year round. And then while traveling along the riverbank, remnants of the bygone, I'm assuming, and the remnants of the bygone West River Railroad. I'm just wondering if that the clause is better included in the down below information, just to make this a little tighter. I'm sure there's more than just those two things. And I would think that would be part of the general descriptive.
You're suggesting is
just, remove just end it at year round and then go into the and then go into the parking issues, and then save what's there for later in the grant proposal.
Can I just add, although I am compelled by the fact that this West River Trail runs along the historic railroad. That, to me, I agree with taking out some of it, but I do wonder if we can keep that its connection to the historic railroad line. But
yeah, that's what I was wondering. I think that's a good question for welcome. And let's see, we'll improve. We'll improve.
Can you say the West River Trail, which runs along or which parallels the West River Railroad?
That's what I was just thinking too.
Which runs along the bygone or parallels. You want to say historic
Or
or
runs
bygone?
on the remnants of the railroad.
Right, along the
May cover.
remnants
I'm
of
totally
the
open.
bygone West River Railroad. Serves hundreds of visitors of all ages who appreciates its natural, historic, and recreational values year round. I don't think we actually need to say of all ages.
Okay.
Let's just get rid of that and see what we think. Does that subtract or is it okay? I think it's fine. Yeah, I think it's fine. So that definitely makes that a more readable sentence to me. Reconfiguring the trail access, turnaround, and parking at the Southland will improve user capacity. Will it increase user capacity? Because you don't really improve user capacity.
Recording in progress.
Increase is probably better. Yes.
Will increase. Why don't we just say capacity? And create space for all. I don't know why, but I hear myself being recorded now. I guess that's okay.
I don't know where it actually happens, but would it be quick to? I'm getting an echo.
Yeah, we're getting feedback. I don't suppose somebody else is recording, are you?
I get the impression that Deborah maybe has to go on mute. Deborah Shires.
Oh, maybe.
Yep.
Okay, there we are. Okay.
if where it says will increase capacity and if it will or not, visitor safety. I'm assuming that if you increase the parking and area, people aren't going to pull over on the side of the road like they do at the Molly trailhead in between Bennington and Wilmington.
Is that a concern right now, or is there plenty of place and it's rural enough that that's not a problem?
The trailhead is at the end, at the dead end of the road.
Oh,
So-
okay. Never mind then.
Okay, how about instead of create space, why not just to make it a little shorter and enable
Perfect.
a welcoming display? I don't quite understand a display of its rich natural resources. Aren't they just already there when you step out of your car?
Display of West River Trail information. Sometimes we have, pamphlets from other groups, like natural resource groups and whatever, that talk about what inhabitants, what the habitat is about. But
I
it's
think
not-
that still is West River Trail information.
Okay.
So wow, look how we shortened this, how clear it is now.
Beautiful.
Information and guides.
I was thinking of guides or guidance, but guides, yeah, that would cover quite a bit of ground.
Okay, this is great, right? Really good. So let's move on. All right. The sad fact is I really wanted this to be 2.5 hours and it's not. So we may not have time for doing all 4 groups each time. So you're going to have to understand that you will learn from the 2 that we'll probably be able to share each time, and we'll just switch off. But I think that will work fine. So my plan is, unless there's enough time, we will from now on share 2 groups, what you've worked on, and we'll just have to leave it at that because anyway, but it'll be fine. Okay, let's go on and talk about project goals. This is how I see every project, and this is just a picture display, a graphic display of what I shared last time, only I left out the outcomes because I'm talking about how I see a project go from goal to objectives to tasks. Now, the truth is, not every application allows you to do it this way. Again, as I told you, the king and queen are the folks who are giving you the money. They can ask for things any way they want. So you don't always have the opportunity to start with one overarching goal and give 3 to 5 objectives and 3 to 5 tasks. But that's the way I see almost every project in my mind. And even if we're not allowed to do it that way, I really urge you to try to see your project that way, because even if the way it's done, let me give an example of a project that wouldn't allow you to do this. Let's say you have a grant that instead of asking for your goals and objectives, just asks you to tell what you're going to do each month, just a timeline. That means that you're not going to be able to, you don't have the space to come up with one overarching goal, which is the way I see every project, 3 to 5 objectives and 3 to 5 tasks. But if you have that overarching goal in your mind, then there's likely going to be some place you're going to be able to present that. And that might have to be as the project summary, if they don't allow you to really, talk about your goal. Or it might even be lower when they talk about, your major project outcomes. And you talk about a major outcome, and then kind of sub outcomes that relate to it. So you might not be able to do it this way, but by conceptualizing your project this way in your head, I think that always allows you to structure your project so that it makes logical sense, and so that you're really building on what you've done before as you map it out. So even if ideally, this is the way I like to present it, but even if you're not allowed to, even if it's done, what's going to happen in month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, you can do it as building towards this overall goal. Now, let me just say one more thing here about goals. In many cases, you will be asked to list project goals, not goal. I almost always say that our overarching project goal, and I almost always even use that word, is to do such and such. Because to me, the reason we're getting this money is to accomplish something that we want people to really be able to put their hands around and to understand that this is what we're aiming for, and that they can see this picture in their mind that we also see. And I have to tell you that when I write a project goal, it's just a draft, and I often spend time playing around with it. And it's not, we tighten it and sharpen it as things, as we continue to work on the project, because I want that project goal to really telegraph and communicate to the reviewers, to the funder, and to everybody working on this, what is our aim? And then the reason we change it sometimes is because sometimes we make our aim too broad and too highfalutin. And once you make that goal, you better be prepared to prove that this is what you're going to do. So you want to make sure that everything that's in that goal, you're going to be able to carry out. Now, once we have that goal, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples, don't worry. In fact, I sent them to you. Why do I say 3 to 5 objectives? Well, we know that the human mind can only handle thinking about 7 things at once. And so when you get above more than 5, we tend to get kind of scrambled and confused and mixed up. And also, it's just too much. It's too much. It makes your proposal too complicated. So I'm going to give you an example from my storied historic past. The way that I learned to write grants was I worked for the federal government in Washington, D.C. for about 5 or 6 years. And I worked for the National Institute of Mental Health. And I served on a bunch of review committees, and I also helped to write requests for proposal. And I'm telling you, serving on these review committees is an amazing educational experience. I never took a grant writing class, but by seeing what people submitted, you really learn what works and what doesn't. And I'm going to give you an example of, I used to not say the state, but it's been like 25 years now. So I'll go ahead and tell you. It was the state of Ohio. This is not a small state. And I was head of a review committee that looks at the grant money, at the grants that every state sends in for what was then called, I don't know if they still have it. Every state was given a discretionary $1 million to spend as they wished, and they wrote a grant. And I headed up this review committee that looked at these grants. And there were a number of review committees. Each one of us looked at about 7 grants. Ohio was one of ours. And I will never forget this. Their proposal, they started out with probably 12 to 15 goals. Under each of those goals was 12 to 15 objectives. And under each objective was 12 to 15 tasks. It was a complete morass. There was absolutely no way that the human mind could follow it. And what it said to me was that they had taken the lazy person's way out, and they had basically said to all of their divisions or branches or whatever, tell us what you want to do. Just, throw it in. We'll throw it all in and we'll send it to the feds and see what they say. And it was the first time, and it was very unusual because I'd served on a few of those committees before, that we actually turned down a grant. We didn't sometimes we would ask questions and they'd have to give us more detail. But in this case, we actually turned down their proposal. And we said, no, you don't know what you're talking about. We don't know what you're talking about. There's no way we would be able to follow this and tell whether you've actually reached any of your outcomes, because by the end of it, they had like 40 or 50 different things they were going to do. So to me, that is like erring on the great, the side that none of us would ever do, but it was just ridiculous. And so grant writing is a case where more is definitely not better. And so in my mind, I always see it as this pyramid where we start out with what we want to accomplish. We talk about how we're going to get there and have kind of, 3 to 5 different task areas. And then for each objective, we have tasks. So let's look at a couple of examples. And here we're just talking about goals. We'll be talking about objectives later. Hope House Therapeutic Residence. This is the example from I read you the emotional case that they made last time. So open a therapeutic safe house for women experiencing domestic violence and substance abuse problems and their children that will increase mother sobriety and help them retain or regain custody. So what we've done here, I worked with this group to help them devise this. And we could have put so much into this goal, and we did, and we pared it down and said, we want to tell a couple of things. We want to tell what we're going to create, which is a therapeutic safe house for women experiencing domestic violence and substance abuse problems and their children. And what are the outcomes? And the outcomes that we want to be judged on are, we want to show that by staying in this home, we're going to increase mother's sobriety and we're going to help them retain or regain custody of their children. And you can see how we have kind of created boundaries around what it is we're going to do. Now that I look at this, even after what we talked about, I would want to say how many women, because, that was let's just say it's for, it was for 6 women and up to 12 children. Because that was something I talked about last time. And it's funny, I've seen this for years, and I just noticed that, again, we want to tell, we really want to tell. And actually, this may be in the project summary, so that's okay. But as specific as we can get. So we're really trying to paint the picture of what it is we're doing. Any questions about this at this point as a project goal? And does it make sense to folks? Okay, let's look at another one. Yes.
Is it, I can see how this one, this is Deb. I can see how
Yes.
this one is strengthened by putting the numbers in. I mean, I was trying to apply it to the one I'm trying to do, which doesn't really have numbers. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yours
quantify.
actually, yeah, when you talk about yours, you will talk about numbers, because you have to assume that not everybody knows about Vernon. And so you will have an idea, you'll either talk about, a rural town of X number people, or you'll talk about somewhere about how many people you think will be using your building.
Okay, thank you.
So I think we can almost always do that. Now, I think I didn't do this in the goal before, because in my memory, in the summary, I know that we talked about 6 women and 12 children. But for the purpose of this, I think it's helpful to have it there. Okay, let's look at the next one. All right, project goal. Sunlight City Park Enhancement Project. Improve water quality and riparian habitat throughout Sunlight City parks to ensure a diverse ecosystem and clean water in our parks and waterways for generations to come. So this is a case like the point that you just raised, Deb, where we don't have numbers. What I would do is, in the summary, I would have said, and I'm going to tell you, this actually was for Montpelier. So I would have said, Montpelier, a town of however many thousand it is, 8,000, whatever, So it again paints the picture. So when you get to the goal, you already know, are you talking about Philadelphia, which is a very different picture than Montpelier? Because, this could be even, federal. So again, what is it we're doing? We're improving water quality and riparian habitat. Now, you and I don't necessarily know what riparian habitat means, but in this case, you have to know your audience. Who are you writing this grant for? And in this case, they were writing the grant for the Agency of Natural Resources. So they knew that the reviewers were going to be folks who know that riparian habitat, I even forget exactly what it means, but I think what it means is the habitat for the native creatures that.
I looked it up. It means river associated things.
Right.
Riverbank.
Yeah. So I want to tell you that I would not use that word riparian for people who I know have to look it up, like me, like I would. So I gave you this example to tell you that in some cases, when you know that you're applying to a particular group of experts, it's okay. And in fact, it's fine to show them that you're also an expert and to use their language. But if you were using this and you were applying to, say, the city of Burlington for grants, and they were giving all kinds of grants for all kinds of things, artistic purposes, educational, as well as environmental, then I would not use riparian habitat. I would use more user-friendly words. I would say something about improve water quality and I don't know, what might we say? Water quality and
You say
just
river
habitat.
habitat?
Yeah,
Just
just
river-
Riparian is relating to or situated on the banks of a river. That's the legal and the
yeah. So we might just
ecological.
say in the riverside habitat. We'd probably just say so. I was in this case, the applicant was intentionally showing from the very beginning, we're the experts speaking to the experts. So we're using those words. So that's a really important point with this one. Okay, so again, we tell what we're going to do. And then in my mind, the goal tells what you're going to do and why you're going to do it. And so once again, improve water quality and riparian habitat throughout Sunlight City parks to ensure a diverse ecosystem and clean water in our parks for generations to come. So those are two examples. And I'm trying to think, I might have one more example. Let's see, to share with you. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to get one. Hold on, if I can find it quickly. I need to take it out because it's helpful to have a bunch of examples here. Let's see, I think I have one in here. Let me just see. No, I guess not. All right, I may share one. Oh, here it is. Here it is. All right, I'm going to share one more example just because it's helpful. It really helps to hear different kinds of projects. All right, here we go. This one, next generation adolescent. No, I'm going to share a different one. The Consortium of Community Do-Gooders, the Sunshine Senior Center. The goal, open and operate a senior center to help older residents of Sunshine City remain healthy, active, engaged, and independent. So what I have to tell you that in many cases, a weak grant writer for their goal, they would just say open and operate a senior center for older residents of Violet City and leave it there. But you can see how important it is and how much more valuable it is when in this case, like these other two cases, we don't just say what we're going to do, but we share our outcomes, our expectations in the goal. We are holding ourselves accountable from the very beginning. we open and operate a centrally located, we open and operate a senior center to help older residents of Sunshine City. And what are we going to help them do? Remain healthy, active, engaged, and independent. And I can tell you, we spent a lot of time on those 4 words, because if we are going to help them remain healthy, active, engaged, and independent, then we had better show in our proposal how we are going to do each one of those. So in this case, with the Sunlight City Parks, if we're going to ensure a diverse ecosystem and clean water in our parks and waterways for generations to come, then we better show how to do it. And likewise, in the one before, as I said, we are going to show how we're going to increase mother sobriety and help them retain or regain custody. We had talked about all kinds of other things that we want to do, and we managed to, and I'm going to tell you some of them. We want to improve parenting skills. We want to improve attachment between the mothers and the children. We want to improve the mother's social and emotional well-being. We want to improve the mother's community connections. We couldn't fit all that into Project Goal. And what we decided is that all of these actually are subsets of activities that will help increase mother sobriety and will help them retain or regain custody. And that those are our 2 primary kind of, outcomes that we're seeking to attain. And in each of these cases, right here in the Project Goal, we are actually showing that what we're going to do is measurable. Can you see that? We're going to measure both the sobriety and whether they retain or regain custody. And in this case, we are going to measure whether there's a diverse ecosystem and clean water. And we're going to have measures that show that what we're doing now is going to help retain this, is creating the pathway for generations to come. So you want to hold yourself to very high goals and standards and outcomes, but not too high. So, it's a balance. You don't want to promise the world. What you want to promise is what you actually can do that is going to make a measurable difference. And as you're thinking about your goal, you're already thinking about what are going to be the measurable objectives, which we'll talk about next time, to achieve that goal. Any questions before? Guess what we're going to do now? Put you to work in your groups. Any questions before we, again, divide into groups? I'll quit recording. And I have figured out what happened. For some of you where I joined your groups and couldn't talk, for some reason, I don't know why, I was thrown off my system. So I just have to rejoin. So I'll pop in and out of your groups again. You'll get 30 minutes again. Once again, have a timekeeper and someone writing. And once again, I'll call you back in 30 minutes and I will, be there to answer questions. And I hope you remember your 4 groups, because I don't. And so what I'd like you to do is, I guess, I'll just at some point ask you. I'll have to remember to ask you what are the groups, or someone can put it in the chat box. All right. Any other questions before we pop into those breakout rooms? And once again, you're going to have to populate the rooms yourselves. So,
Anne, excuse
yes.
me. I wasn't here last week because unfortunately I had COVID, so I don't have a group.
Oh, I'm really sorry. So, Gretchen is not able to be here today. Does anyone remember what group Gretchen was in? Does anyone know? All right, Jess, what I'd like you to do is wait a minute, and then I want you to join the group that only has 3, because we have 16 people. So that you do, and I'm really glad you're able to be here. And as a fellow COVID survivor, I had it over Christmas. So I got better the week before this started. So welcome back. It's good to be back.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm gonna start the breakout rooms, stop recording and start. Okay.